I'm Joe Sanok, your host, and welcome to the Practice of the Practice podcast, where we help you build a thriving private practice you absolutely love. Now, I know a ton of you are in our membership community. You're connecting with other people. You're coming to our 3 live events every single week. But if you're not a part of our community, make sure you join us over at practiceofthepractice.com/membership. That's where there's so much going on, where we bring in experts. We do live teachings 3 times a week. All of our consultants are involved. In fact, just on the previous episode, we had Adam Lewis Walker, is our newest consultant that joined the team, and he trains people on getting TEDx talks and having amazing keynotes. So if you missed that yesterday, that's an amazing interview. Just did that with him actually this morning at the time of this recording. So you want to go check that out because he talks about how to craft and land TEDx talks. The guy's amazing, and he's joined our team. I've known him for almost 10 years now, and just was like, man, you got to join our team. And so he's now on the team helping people get TEDx's. So we bring people like him in, and also, people like our guest today. I'm so excited to have Ari Gutnick, who is a founder and operator interested in how people transform at their best over long term. He's the co-founder of Loom, a performance lab for early stage founders that blends executive coaching, data-driven diagnostics, and health optimization. Ari, welcome to the Practice of the Practice podcast.
Hey Joe, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm excited to have a conversation with you.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this because as we were talking before we got started, you were talking about how your platform, works on, all sorts of different aspects of just like what it means to be a founder. And so can't wait to
Mm.
hear about the platform. But also we were talking and you said that you were at a point of burnout and that really kind of led you into starting Loom. So why don't we start there? Like what was going on?
Sure, yeah. One of my early career moments was working for a really scalable and scaling business, tech business, and originally it was an amazing and incredible experience being at this job. But over time, it led me to burnout for a number of reasons. Not to go into too much detail, but I was professionally burnt out. I was lost. I was confused about what I wanted to do as a next step in my career, in my personal life. And I really got depressed. I really hit rock bottom. And one of the ways that I was able to, pick myself back up was a number of things. One is I got an executive coach. I worked with a health coach as well.
Mm.
And I got into breath work, which really transformed me. And, this was, about 5 to 10 years before I started Loom with a co-founder of mine, but it really paved the sort of the earliest idea of it, right? Before, we started it a number of years later, but this is kind of the pinnacle moment that I felt like, led me to this idea of starting a business that really transformed me in my personal and professional, career and life.
Mm. Now, when you were burning out and dealing with depression, like what did that look like? How did you know there was a problem? And I want to hear then a little bit more about like what really pulled you out of that.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think burnout is kind of the final symptom, like we say, at in your professional. If you're moving toward burnout, typically the word burnout is used toward the end, right? You get before burnout, you start to notice things like emotional dysregulations, you're avoiding hard conversations, you are foggy, you have reduced cognitive sharpness. And these things kind of, and then of course, like getting out of bed, is kind of the classic one. And so it was hard for me to get out of bed, feeling excited, feeling like I had momentum to get to my job,
Mm.
to work on my job, and to be successful in my job. And I eventually ended up quitting. And that led me into a deeper depression, which really made me feel, yeah, really didn't have a lot of momentum to kind of carry on into what I felt like could be a next step in my life. And
Mm.
like I said, what got me out of it was building a support system, building a team, and finding ways to get passionate about new things And one of the biggest things I got passionate about was not only health and wellness, but breath work at the time.
Mm. Now, tell me about the health and wellness side. Like, what was helpful for you at that time?
Yeah, I mean, the health and wellness is, I mean, just in terms of my well-being was, just, you know, overall making sure I was getting out of bed, working out, eating right, doing things that made me happy. I was working with a health coach
Mm,
uh, who, taught me a lot about how to take care of myself, create a system for myself that was personalized to me, both from a physical perspective, but a nutritional perspective. And of course, got into things like traditional modalities like yoga and breath work. And breath work was something I turned to because one of the things that we experience in a depressive state is a lack of connection to self. I felt very uh, you know, unable to tap into my own emotions. And when I did a 30-minute breathwork session with a practitioner in Los Angeles, I actually was able to really tap into my emotional self. And it actually allowed me to like open up, start to feel again, start to feel alive again. And when you pair that with working with an executive and career coach and a health coach and doing something you're passionate about, which is aligned with making you feel better every day, it eventually made me feel like I was moving toward, better progress.
mm. Yeah. So as you pull out of that, like where did the connection with starting Loom and all of like kind of the helping early stage founders, like how did that overlap in that?
Yeah, so my career has, mainly been working with early stage founders and early stage companies, right? I've worked at like 5 different tech companies, all, trying to build products or services that are trying to make it. And I got really interested in, working directly with founders who, you know, opened up to me, became very vulnerable with me, and I quickly understood how tough and challenging that role can be. And, when we started Loom with my co founder, Katie, about a year and a half ago to 2 years, we, uh, wanted to support not only founders, but, anyone who needed an executive coach. We actually ended up pivoting to support founders later on
Mm,
exclusively. But, um, but it really originated from this idea and this experience that I had is, you know, to be a founder, to be a high performing executive at a tech company, not only do you need an executive coach to help you tactically with your business, but also emotionally and mentally. And then we've added on top of that a layer of health optimization. We have coaches across 6 health domains. So you can
mm,
allocate any of your sessions that you purchase on Loom to work with a health coach in addition to your executive and leadership coach.
mm.
So, and happy to talk more about that, but that's kind of laying the baseline of sort of like the foundation of what we do at Loom.
Yeah. Now, what would you say are some of the most common ways that executives and founders maybe burnout or like buy into hustle culture or any of that stuff? Like what are the common, maybe a better way of phrasing that would be like what are the common mindsets that you would just say are wrong?
Yeah, I think founders, executives rarely lack motivation. They lack managing their own personal and professional capacity. So I think like especially at tech companies where things are moving so quickly, 9 out of 10, business early stage businesses fail. The pressure of being having to build something that makes your gives back the money that your investors gave to you and believed in you from the get go adds a lot of pressure, adds a lot of intensity to your day to day experience building a business. And you know, most founders, what they do with that level of pressure is that they push harder, right?
Mm.
They, they work on their business for longer hours. They sacrifice sleep. Their stress increases. They start making worse decisions or lack of decisions. And so, um, you know, there's and there's a belief that like if you work harder, if you put in more time, if you don't take breaks, if you don't take care of your health and well-being, that you're giving the most, you're giving your business a higher chance of success. But when, given that I work with, a large bench of coaches and executive leadership, founder coaches on a day-to-day basis, a big through line that they talk about is that that is not the case. You can't out motivate a depleted nervous system, right? What really high level performance driven entrepreneurs do is manage their own level of capacity. They're building a sustainable performance system for themselves so they can, you know, be clear minded. They can make better decisions. They could have more hard conversations that feel empowered. They can hire and manage and build a culture for a team that they want to build and scale. And so yeah, there's really sort of there's duality in this topic. There's a lot of people who believe that hustle culture is the way to build a business, but it's quite the opposite.
Yeah, what would you say really helps get to that next level if it's not hustle culture?
Slowing down, slowing
Mm.
down. You know what I mean? And so once again, I think like what we do at Loom is, a lot of our coaches say, the best way to, you know, understand what your root challenge is to slow down and create some higher level of awareness of what's working and what's not working as a founder. And I spoke to a coach recently, and she actually recommends founders to go on a 2 day retreat by themselves to create some clarity around what's working and what's not
Mhm.
working in their life. And when you slow down, you have that awareness and you could pinpoint, okay, is this maybe I feel less connected to the mission of the business that I'm creating. Maybe my nervous system is too dysregulated. Maybe I'm not getting enough sleep, and that's impacting the way I show up for my business. Maybe I'm not eating healthy. Maybe I'm not taking enough breaks. Maybe I, uh, and it comes down to, you know, not, understanding how you could really move sustainably as an entrepreneur to best support yourself. So when we slow down and have this level of awareness that creates, we could actually get to the root cause of what's not working, get the support we need, create the change that needs to happen in order for you to then approach your business with a much more clarity.
Mm. Yeah. So what are the steps when someone's like ready to move out of thinking like hustle culture, like nose to the grindstone? I know a lot of therapists are aware of their own just abilities to push versus like, hey, I need to slow down here. But then just the little things to run a practice just take over. Like, should I upgrade my phone system? Should I upgrade my website? Should I do more SEO? Should I network more? There's all these like should I's. And then I think lots of them get paralyzed by perfection and don't do any of it. So it's like, what's the next mindset of how to actually structure their time to both get the things done of running a new business, but then also to be able to slow down and help their brains rest and do the better work?
Yeah, unfortunately, being a founder is really hard and it's a balancing act. right? You have to know when to push and when to slow down. It's not like the goal isn't to work less, right? It's not to slow down and put in less effort and work less. It's about, creating a sustainable system for you to operate at your peak and to feel joyful and happy doing so. And so I think, you know, you have to look at, um, you have to look at your day, how you're, there's little tweaks like, what we do at Loom and a lot of our coaches, what they say is it's sometimes not the big things. It's actually the small, it's a collection of smaller tweaks that actually make a bigger impact sometimes. So that might be maybe participating in less calls and meetings, maybe for a founder, and trusting more into their team, potentially delegating things that drains their energy, not lifts their energy. Potentially that's more stress management. Maybe instead of booking 45 hour meetings, you book 50-minute meetings. So you have 10 minutes to regulate your body, regulate your system before your next meeting. Maybe it's creating more, deep work opportunities. So and scheduling your meetings in the afternoon or in the morning, or incorporating hobbies or passion projects outside of work. Maybe it's work-life balance. There's many examples of that. And so it's really making some smaller tweaks that doesn't, you know, take you away from your business, but it actually helps you run your business in a much more efficient way and a much more sustainable way where it gives your business the best chance to succeed.
What are some examples of founders you've seen make that kind of shift?
Wow, there's so many different examples. I mean, I think like a more funny example that comes to mind is, a coach was working with a founder who was very emotionally dysregulated, and uh, the coach really encouraged this founder to get a pet. You would think this is right, so almost so far away from operating a business and raising money and raising capital and building a team and working on sales and finding customers. But in reality, the issue was how to make this founder more emotionally regulated. And that coach encouraged that founder to invest in a pet, you know, to help with that emotional regulation, which has had a tremendous impact on that founder. Let's see. Another one is just another founder that I spoke to recently had a hard time uh, trusting in their team. I think and this founder was working in the business, not on their business, is what we like to call it. And they had a hard time delegating work. Once again, you brought up perfectionist, right? Being a perfectionist as a founder. Well, sometimes you have to give up, some of the work that you are doing on a day-to-day basis in order to work on the things that are most important for the business and yourself. And so
Mm.
this founder, in a way, had to learn how to delegate more of their, tasks to their executive assistant, to their first employee, their second employee, so they can really, work on, maximize the chances of success for that business. Um, there's countless amount of examples, and some of these examples have really drastic impact on the success of the business. We've seen revenue jump 3 times with for a business, SaaS business, because uh, the co-founders were able to work more closely and effective with one another, which is a common thing that a lot of early stage companies experience is co-founder dynamics, co-founder conflict. We've seen companies pivot because the the founder has gotten more clarity, more mental and emotional clarity on what they want to do and how they want to build a business and what's working, what's not working. So there's many examples, but I'll pause there and see if that was enough.
No, that's great. So the last question I always ask is if every private practitioner in the world were listening right now, what would you want them to know?
Private practitioner, um, yeah, I would love them to know, that, is to really get to know, is really customize and personalize their support to, their client in a way that best serves their client, right? I think a lot of coaches, inexperienced coaches or consultants think it's like a one size fits all, but every founder and executive who really joins Loom and is looking to get coached comes with a unique set of problems that could be tactically on their business, which, by the way, every business is very different, experiencing a unique challenge, or where that individual is mentally, emotionally, personally. And so, I think I would say private practitioners should really take the time, more than one session, to really get to know their clients' needs before they actually deliver support for them.
So good. If people want to connect with Loom, where should we send them?
Yeah, Loom, we have a website. It's www.join. So join-loom, Lume.com. You could find us on all the social platforms, just Loom, Lume, and you'll find us online.
So awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you so much, Joe. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, getting coaching, connecting with people, feeling supported, it's definitely the thing that's helped me get to the next level in my business. So it's awesome to see other people doing really good work in that space of supporting folks. Also, if you are looking to get to the next level in your practice, I want to encourage you to check out Alma. They empower you to accept insurance. They're backed by their all-in-one EHR that simplifies scheduling, your documentation, and day-to-day practice operations. You can learn more over at helloalma.com/Joe. Again, that's helloalma.com/Joe. That's ALMA. Thank you so much for letting me into your ears and into your brain. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.